Jeff Fuller back with you. Jay Fuller Interviews on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We look forward to sharing people's stories to make our stories more informed and much better. You can certainly subscribe to the YouTube channel at YouTube. There's a greater than sign at the bottom, Jay Fuller Interviews. And I'm excited right now because we have Coach Eck. He has the longest Twitter handle I think I've ever seen. But Coach Eck, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? Oh, there we go.
I'm doing well. Is you there? Uh-oh. You were on. Now you're off. I can hear you. It's kind of like a podcast with just volume. So it's good. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you guys. Oh, there we
There
go.
you go. All right. Good work. Good work. Hey, so personally, you played in a basketball tournament that I helped put on several years ago. You were actually named the MVP. Your teammates got a kick out of that. Bob Shed was on that team and some other guys that I've known for a long time. Can you just talk about where your love of basketball began, and did you deserve the MVP of that tournament?
Well, I've been very fortunate. I grew up in Michigan, in Metro Detroit, which is the suburbs of Detroit. And in Michigan, you just sports are inundated on you from the time you're born. And out there in the early 80s, it was soccer, it was football, it was basketball, and it was baseball. And I participated in all of those and truly enjoyed each one of those quite a bit. As I went through middle school to junior high to high school, basketball and football became my two main ones that I continued to play. Dropping football my senior year, as I was fortunate enough to earn a scholarship to Michigan Tech University, which is a division school in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So my love for basketball just came because it was everywhere. A lot like I see all the Yankees fans and Red Sox fans. That's the way it is in Michigan. You can't go into any type of restaurant or anywhere and not see 60% of the people have some kind of gear around.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it came from. And then, on my way up to Michigan Tech, I got a chance to play with some phenomenal players. I had a chance to play in every single collegiate game I had an opportunity to, which was 117. And my career line is like 4 points, 4 rebounds. But I bet you I set 20, 30 screens a game. I got my players open. And that's really what I became known for throughout college was I was that X factor. I would do whatever it would take would win. I wanted to win. I wanted to win and do whatever it took. Which leads me to that tournament that you mentioned, and I did what I always do. I set screens, I get guys open, and I'm just very happy that the director of that tournament saw what a value a player like that can be for his team, and it was a great time. I actually fun story is the award for that was a Boston Celtics warm-up jersey, an actual game-worn one. And a few years ago, it was a good friend of mine's 40th birthday party, and I bestowed that upon him because he's a huge Celtics fan. And, it's one of those where you feel bad because all of a sudden that's the best gift that he received, and his wife's giving me the dirty eye or whatever. But it was really fun to just, to tell him that story as well. So I absolutely think the director had a great eye in awarding it that year.
Hey, it's always good. Michigan, I mean, Detroit used to be title town. Now people could argue that Boston is, and there is something about sports. My wife is from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you going to college in the UP, that's not much different than Vermont. Honestly, did being at the UP kind of prepare you for Johnson?
Absolutely. The type of environment is very similar, very small town people, very small town communities. Really get a chance to bond with the community, to create basketball camps, to get to know folks. Very similar to where I went to school. There wasn't much else around. And when I started the women's job 10, 12 years ago, immediately wanted to start a basketball camp, because we wanted to give the young ladies an opportunity from the northern area of Vermont, a lot of portions that often got overlooked when they went to camps, or it was too far for them to drive to, provide them a hotbed for girls to play basketball in. Unfortunately, this is the first summer where we're not able to hold the camp because of COVID and kind of the ramifications around that. But yes, it was from the UP to Vermont. The most difference was there was more mountains out here. So I went from one place where they say it's God's country to another place. And so it's wonderful to be out here. And it's what I personally really enjoy. It fits me really well.
Yeah, on a personal note, we went to Beaver Island 2 summers ago, I guess, and that is the middle of nowhere. Being on an island for 5 days, I almost got claustrophobic, but I knew I was getting off soon, so that was, the safe reminder. Hey, being with Johnson State, the Badgers, part of Northern Vermont University, can you just talk about what it's like being a part of a D3 program? I remember talking with Mike Osborne early on when he was coaching there, and he said that the NCAA had different rules. One had to do with lighting, and so one summer they had to adjust the lighting and fix different things. Being a part of the NCAA seems like it's a good benefit, but there certainly are different requirements about that. As a coach and other responsibilities you have at Johnson, have you seen the positives, but also some of the maybe negatives of being part of the NCAA?
You know, like any organization, which with the NCAA is, it's an association, and we're all members, and they provide different type of guidance for us based upon the members' feedback. So whether it's championships, whether it's rules changes, those are all generated by the coaches and the member institutions themselves. Being a Division III, we have a very quiet voice in that argument, unless collectively we all are together. One example is the 3-point line. Have you seen in the men's and the women's? It seems like it's constantly moving every year or so. Well, that's just not a piece of tape that goes down on the floor. That's a painting company we have to hire. That's sanding. That's measure. I mean, that's making sure it's done professional. And whether it be, it's just basketball. I'm also the associate athletic director at NVU, so I do have my hands in all of the sports, and each year there's one or two different rules that come down that do affect us financially. I know this upcoming year there was going to be how they were going to weigh softball bats to make sure that they were correct. So a lot of it is just for the fairness and the competitiveness. But yes, anybody, if all of a sudden you have an extra 3,000, you've got to figure out in your budget somewhere. That does make it tough. But overall, being a part of the NCAA provides us with so many championships opportunity for our student athletes. It makes their student athlete experience extremely valuable because the NCAA provides a lot of development grants, whether that's for students who haven't had opportunities, different diversity and inclusion opportunities that grants provided, or it's provided grants that kind of help for the student academic development or community service. The benefits greatly outweigh the couple of, okay, well, now we've got to move this line here, or now this is a new rule. But again, it all's generated from the coaches. And I think that's something a lot of folks always forget when the NCAA does a lot of things, that it is created a lot by their members. And right now, we appreciate the guidance that the NCAA is giving us. They were, I think, they were methodical in the spring and making their decisions on their championships. But now with the return to play guidelines and the core principles that they're putting out, they're really trying to work to make sure we're all making sure we're bringing our athletes back to the campuses healthy. So, again, I think at the end of the day, I'm very happy to be an NCAA member.
Now, I guess unfortunately, NVU made the news, both Johnson and Linden, with the thought of closing the institutions, and now with some uncertainty going on. How do you feel as far as job security, and how important is it to the local community? I know, as of being a resident of Johnson for 4 years, what you do for the community. In your eyes, how important is it that Johnson stays in Johnson?
It was amazing. It was truly amazing. I'm a Christian, and I always believe whatever is put out there, the Lord's put it out there for a reason, and He's going to give us the strength to get through it, no matter what it is. So there was a range of emotions that first Thursday, Friday, but then immediately to see the ground swelling of support from the local communities, from Lindenville, from Johnson, from every town in between, and alumni and state senators and everybody raising their voices and telling their story and why it was important for them, and why we want to continue that opportunity for Vermont students going forward. And we want to continue that student opportunity for students from out of state to come in here and to see what beautifulness Vermont has to offer and opportunities it has. So it was a roller coaster of emotions. But because of that, I think the state college system has been put to the forefront of what's important to the state of Vermont. And what's important comes in a budget a lot of times. And I'm glad that the state legislature has stepped up for the next year with the bridge funding, and have committed to looking at, and then going forward on a 3 months by 3 month basis, to just make sure the plan that we're putting in place is making sense and it's working, because we are dealing with so many unknowns right now in the world that it's tough for anyone to commit 3-5 years out. So I'm really appreciative with what they've done. I really appreciate that they're stepping up to the plate financially. And, I think we've got a great leader in President Collins. I think she's been really solid at leading us going forward through this uncertain times. And it's amazing to see the community come together. Is there going to be disagreements? Absolutely. But I think we're really working together to make sure we've got a stable Vermont college system going forward. So I'm not concerned about my future. One, I know the Lord will take care of me no matter what. But two, I feel very confident in our leadership and the students that we're bringing in, and what we're looking to achieve here. So I feel very confident. There's no for sale signs at my house.
That's encouraging. That's really good. Coach Eck, I want to talk about basketball now, since you are a basketball coach. How tall are you?
6'6".
So 6'6". Have you ever coached any players your size or taller than you?
I've not coached anybody my size or taller. I've coached a lot of female post players that have been around like 6', 6'1". On the men's side, we went, when Miles Smith was there, because I was Miles' assistant. I was Ozzy's, Coach Osborne's assistant for 5 years, and I had the opportunity to coach Miles Smith and his group. And we had a few 6'4" guys. I guess maybe one or two 6'6" guys, but nobody too monsters yet.
So, how frustrating, or how do you temper your coaching when you just could do things because you are that size and that athletic, where you have some players, especially where you're coaching now, that are maybe 6 foot, but they can't make that strong post move finish at the rim or close to the rim as you were able to do? How do you adjust your coaching style versus what you were naturally able to do versus what they are skilled to do?
Well, it's why I do it. It's that kind of solving a problem. It's I am tall, but there was 7 guys taller than me on my college team. There was 4 people taller than me in my wedding. So I had to adjust my game from when I was in high school, and could go up over a 6'7", 6'8" guy. Now I'm going against 6'9", 6'10" every night. And there's elbows in my nose. And there's I'm not able to get my shots off. So I had to learn how to adapt. And that's what I do when we work with player development. We work really closely with finding out what they don't do well, and then work them through that. I'm a big advocate in film, and it's great having, like, I don't know, the devices right at our ready. You can just be doing a shooting drill or doing a low post row with somebody, videotape it for 2 seconds. Hey, this is what it looks like to me. Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought I was doing this. I thought that was a big step. No, see how small that is. So the time when you're able to correct and then implement those corrections is instantaneous now. And so, yeah, there's I can imagine, I wasn't a great shooter until I had a decent mid-range game, until I worked with Mike Osborne as his assistant and really learned and watched and paid attention to him. So just like I just take the time, and I enjoy that. Like, that's why I'm doing this, is to get everybody better and to get them to that next level.
Yeah, and a great opportunity as coaches to work with players, and especially at smaller schools under D1, just to really get to know the players that you have. You guys have a lot going on up at NVU Johnson with the women's basketball. Can you just talk to me about the difficulties, but also joys of recruiting and seeing players fit into the system and the team family that you guys have there?
Yeah, I mean, I love recruiting. It is a lot of long days. It's a lot of time in the gym, but where else would I want to be? I'd be finding some gym to do it anyways, whether it's myself playing or my children. So recruiting is definitely a challenge, though, because there are so many basketball tournaments nowadays. There are so many showcases, and there's so many great individuals that I want to have a chance to meet. I use the opportunity of a lot of the online services to do a lot of my recruiting, the first level, to find people outside of the state of Vermont, and then develop a relationship with them through that context, and then go out and visit them, maybe a high school game or an AAU tournament. With the in-state players, I have the ability to start seeing them from about their 9th grade year, through AAU tournaments, through kind of seeing them on the JV, or watching them on the JV while I'm watching a varsity game. So kind of just keeping people and just talking along the way. I mean, I know you and I ran into each other at a mini Metro game early this year, and that conversation that we had helped me just gain a little bit more knowledge on the hardwoods. So I mean, that's every day. It's that little bit of just, okay, who's available, who's still looking, and then figuring out who fits well within our program, and vice versa, because there are so many great universities out here and there's so many great players. Let's just find the right one. It's like the old Macy's Santa Claus. We might not have what you want, but down the street does. And that's the way I truly feel. I don't have a scholarship. So if you want to be a biology major and I don't have biology, I can't just say to you, well, I'm going to pay for your education. So go health science. That's the same thing, isn't it? You're like, no, not even close. So really at the Division III level, I want to work hard up front to make sure that our academic offerings and what we bring to the table is what you're looking for. Because nobody wants somebody to transfer. And it's very disruptive for that family. It's very disruptive for that program, but it does happen because things don't work out as expected. But I work really hard to try to make sure that there is that fit, that they do meet the team ahead of time, that they do have the camaraderie to kind of, hey, this is the kind of girl I want to take a charge for. This is the kind of person that I really want to dive on that loose on that ground for that loose ball, because, if you're not around good character people, or they're not, have that same goals in life to get better each day, to support each other, there will be a point when you're saying, I won't dive for that loose ball. I won't step over and take that charge. And we do our best to not have those environments happen.
No, that's real good. This picture behind me, I think it's a junior high tournament. I think it's Indiana or Illinois, but you could see that there's no fans in the stands. Maybe that's because it's a junior high tournament and fans didn't show up. But what are your thoughts about playing without fans, whether it's you guys specifically or high school kids that you would like to recruit and see? How difficult would that be from your end as a college coach?
It's a reality. It's a reality that we are going to be playing in limited seating, limited capacity, maybe no fans. I'm not sure what it's going to be like. Because a couple of things. One, I know watching a few of the UFC fights, you hear the commentators talk. Yeah. The fighters talked after the game about they made adjustments because they heard the commentators, making suggestions. So I got to imagine you'll hear a lot more. I do a lot of film study, so hopefully I'll still be able to get those films and watch those games. But the personal connection of after the game, speaking to them, either seeing how they handle a loss, how they process that, or see how they act after a win. So those are some of the things that are going to be tougher to have. I do think, we're living in a unique time, and, we just got to do what we need to do to keep some normalcy, but understand that I think this is only hopefully a year type adjustment with no fans or limited seatings kind of things. But I've got to turn the volume down on my coaching just because you're going to hear everything.
Hey, so a couple questions, then I'll let you go. Coach Eck up at Johnson State MVU. Thanks again for making the time and being a part. It's always good to catch up with friends on that level, but also talk and promote what you do as well. But this next question goes along with COVID, at least for this 2020. The social injustice that's taken place. Vermont, Johnson, we are not the most diverse state in the country, but I think we can bring awareness and stand with those that certainly need people to stand up for them, to stand with them. How have you done that as a coach? How do you, or do you promote the need for your players to be socially active and take a stand when things are not right?
Yeah, Black Lives Matter. It's a human right issue. We have to understand that. I mean, there's systematic racism built into everything within this country. And people need to feel more comfortable saying that Black Lives Matter. What I've done is listen. I've done a lot to listen to my players, to listen to understand, to promote them, to encourage them to have their voices. We have players throughout the country, and I know many of them have been actively participating in the protests, have been on have been on podcasts, have been really articulating their story. And it's been amazing and unfortunate to hear a lot of their stories, and unfortunate to hear the racism that does occur in Vermont, that they do see, that does occur in Johnson in different areas. But we're doing everything we can to listen and to really understand You know, what actionable steps can we take to begin to put, black individuals and people of color and who have less opportunities who have been provided because of racism, how can we help elevate them and provide them with more opportunities? So whether that's now within my own basketball team or within the NCAA as a whole, or within the NAC, the North Atlantic Conference,
Yeah.
where we are, we really want to, listen to those, because as a white male, I do not have the answers. I'm part more of the problem than this, but I want to listen to help become part of the solution. So, doing everything we can to encourage, to create conversations, to have difficult conversations, because throughout our team, we have a diverse team, and we and also what their parents do for a livings as well too. So there's multiple sides of the arguments that that can be brought, and I'm really proud that I have such great young women who can have those hard discussions, who aren't afraid to make a mistake and then understand why they made that mistake, or to lead in different areas. So I'm very proud of them, and it's unfortunate that all this is occurring, but there's a reason for it,
Yeah.
and I hope this is the start of the change.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. Coach, final question. What is something that you're doing now during this pandemic that you believe will be a payoff whenever it's over? And the second part of that is, what is something that you hope your players or players that hope to play for you are doing now that will pay off for them this fall, winter when they make the basketball team?
Yeah, I think right now for the incoming players, and you'll probably hear this when you talk to BJ Robertson later with Blueprint Basketball, is the skill development. Is because we cannot really play competitive games.
Yeah.
Right now, you should be, your skills should be as sharp as they've ever been. You should be having a ball in your hands, dribbling, do some forms. You should really be able to individual stuff. So, my expectation and my hope is they come back, they're ready to go. Well, that's the coach in me. The realist in me says, we're dealing with some, racial and political unrest right now, and so I don't want them to say, to stop what they're doing to go get a training in. No, go do what you need to do there. So, I'm hopeful that, skill wise, that they'll put that extra time in, because, I mean, what else do we have right now in our hands with some time? What I've been had an opportunity to do more than I have in years past is um, uh, do a lot of coaching clinics. Doing a lot of kind of learning sessions. They've been an amazing amount provided through a lot of different associations. So whether it's learning some new defenses, or seeing the way a different coach breaks down pick and roll, to talking about how do you develop culture within a team. I've been able to spend 5, 6, 7 hours a week on personal coaching development that would not have been available to me any other time, because I would have been recruiting. I would have been on my son's travel teams. I would have been doing spring events through an administrator. So it's just afforded me the time to really develop my stuff more, and think about how we're going to run it, because my team coming this year is mostly returners. So I have a good idea of who they are and what they can do. Last year we had 9 incoming players. I had ideas of what we could do, but but by Christmas we had to change some things, because what I thought wasn't exactly how it happened on the court. So I sure hope the extra work I've been doing in the classroom is going to really pay off for us coming forward.
Oh, definitely. I think it just shows that you lead by example. And as we're teachable, we sit and listen and we learn, then it's going to make everybody else better, and to follow our lead to create that culture. So, Coach Eck, thanks for what you're doing. Well done. And we'll catch up sometime off air, and
Very,
maybe
very great,
go out
Jeff.
to do something.
Enjoy the soccer this afternoon.
Hey, thanks, Greg. And
Take care.
again, that's Greg Eckman at NVU Johnson. We are so glad that he made time to be a part. And you are listening to Jay Fuller Interviews on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can certainly subscribe and talk with us and listen to other people's stories to make your story much better. We'll talk to you again soon.